New Year's Eve. So it's the day before New Year's Eve, and thought I'd do some training on working with a tenant or a landlord. So again, once you've shown a property and you are ready to, let's just talk about first working with a tenant. You've showed the tenant, and now they want to send in a lease app. You've texted the listing agent for the landlord, and they tell you that they want you to use TAR or Texas Realtors lease app. The first thing you're going to do is go to texasrealestate.com, hit zip forms, and your screen turns blue. When your screen turns blue, we know, if we have trained here enough, that we're looking for basically one button, the new button. Once you hit the new button, you're going to be presented with 5 boxes. So first off, here we are logging in. You hit the new button and you have 5 boxes: seller, buyer, lease. You pick lease, and you're going to name the lease. Let's say Tim the tenant, and whatever his name is or her name. Always select residential, the dot next to residential. This just makes it simple. Always select that no matter what the transaction. And then right here, it'll say select template, and you're going to look for tenant template, and you'll see it there. So you have the tenant template, and then you scroll down, and all you do is hit save. Once you hit save, the next screen, you'll be looking at a white summary square. There it is. I always say go 2 tabs over to documents, and you're going to have all your forms there for tenant. So here's the IBS. Here's the buyer rep. The unique thing about the buyer rep is that once it loads and you're in this with all your forms, all you have to do is click on the buyer rep, and there's only 2 paragraphs you need to fill in. Right here, the tenant, Tim tenant, and then you go down to paragraph 4 and you click the blank, you pick today's date, you hit the second blank and pick the end of next month and hit save, and the buyer rep is completed. Because if you look up, everything else has been pre-filled. Now, the neat thing is paragraph 11, I have 3% and 50. That means that if your tenant becomes a buyer, you're protected. If you're working with a buyer, it'll also say 50% here in case your buyer becomes a tenant. So you won't need 2 buyer rep agreements for a buyer that becomes a tenant or a tenant that becomes a buyer. You use the same form for both. All right, it's completely filled in. All right, you hit the back button. Well, in order to send these documents to make your customer a client, you're going to open up one of the forms, and all you do is simply hit e-sign in the left corner. Once you hit e-sign, we're looking for Digital Ink 2.0. It should be there by default. You're going to hit select documents to include and pick the information about brokerage services. You'll hit close and you'll hit next. Now you need to mark Tim's name because he's the buyer. And when you check mark him, it won't let you because you need an email. So put in his email, and then you'll check mark the buyer or the tenant, and you'll hit close. There he is. You hit next. All the forms will load. And basically what I always like to do is I like to scroll down through each form and just make sure that there's an initial prompt for Tim. So as I scroll down, I see the buyer rep has an initial for him. I keep going. I see there's an initial prompt on page 2, 3, 4, and a signature on 5. I scroll down, and when I look at the bottom of the IBS, I see his initial there. All I do is hit next, send, and boom, I just sent those forms. Now I go back to the documents. So I hit the green back button, and now I want to send him the lease app. So I open it, and this will not be DocuSigned. This will actually be sent as a PDF. All you do is go up here to the top and hit send, and then email. 2 screens come up. What you're going to do is red X out of the first screen. The only screen left, you type in Tim's email. And here you put something like this: print, fill out, initial, and scan back to me. You hit send, and it's going to ask you what you're going to send through, and you need to pick your provider. And then you hit send again, and you'll see it says it's been sent successfully if you scroll up. It'll say it in just a second. The message has been sent successfully. All right. When you work with a tenant, That's all you have to do. IBS, buyer rep, and the lease app, send to them. Now, once you've talked to the landlord agent and they agree that your client is going to get the house to rent, you need to do an agreement between brokers regarding residential leases and send a W-9 of our brokerage firm. That W-9 will be updated on January 1st to be the 2022 W-9. As of right now, it's on back agent under office and documents. The agreement between brokers is commonly referred to as the ABB. You simply open it, and I've already templated 50%. So if you're getting less than that, you put whatever the commission percentage is. If you're getting a flat fee, you simply mark this and put, oh, I'm making $250. Okay. I template this part here. That means that if your tenant becomes a buyer, that you get protected and get paid when he decides or she decides to buy the home after the lease is up. And then basically on this right side, you'll fill in the other broker, the listing broker's information. All right. And then you'll hit save. And then you will e-sign this to yourself. And when you get it back, you'll send it to the other agent. So to e-sign it to yourself, you hit e-sign. You hit next. You're going to be the selling agent. So you check mark your name. You hit close. You hit next. The form will load. Once the form loads, all you're going to do is hit next and send invitation. Okay. I hope this helps. And this concludes the tenant training. I'll do landlord next.